Hello and welcome to this week's video all about study plans. So in this video I will be teaching you exactly how to make your own tailored study plan for each of the ACA, mainly professional level exams. So this approach can be applied to the certificate level and also the advanced level exams, but I do think it mainly works for the professional level. So if you do have your professional level exams coming up, then stick around, you're definitely going to want to hear this. So I do actually offer some ACA slots available if you would like any advice about this, and I can provide tailored study plans for you. So click the link in the description below and you'll be able to go straight to booking that time with me. But what I wanted this video for is to kind of give you the tools that you need to do it yourself. So this study plan technique is very much a question-based approach. So for me personally, I think question bank practice is a key. If you will read all of my blogs, then you'll find that I often say just practice, 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 and I truly do believe that. And so what this approach is going to teach you is just how to get that question bank practice in. So the reason that I said that this approach works best for the professional level exams is because the professional level exams, I feel for the majority, not all of them, so I have explained in this video that there are some lighter exams, so those are AA and BST. But I do believe that overall you can pretty much aim to get through the question bank at least once for the rest of the professional level exams. And to do that, you need to really plan, and that's what this video is all about. So if you've watched some of my videos already, especially in this one, you'll find that I do really bang on about having a weekly planner and the importance of this. So what you can see here is a weekly planner that I used for all of my exams, and it really did get me through. It's honestly just the best thing to just have it and to be able to cross things off, tick it, and like it was just really good. But I did mention that I offer online study plans, so if I was to create that for you, it would just be an Excel version. However, if you do want a physical version of a weekly planner, then there is an affiliate link in my description below and you'll be able to purchase one of those through Amazon. Right, so let's get into it, and I'll start off with the very generic approach which can be applied to all of the different exams. So the first thing that you would need to do is pretty much start from the date that you're going to start your revision. So what I assume with this is that you would have already had college and already gone through the content at least once. And by going through the content, I do mean kind of like an integrated workbook, perhaps with Kaplan or BPP, where it's a very condensed version of the notes. I really would not recommend going through the whole ICAEW study manual, because I've found that there's just so much information in that and it is just very time consuming to go through. So hopefully you are studying with a provider and they are able to give you some condensed notes. So following then going through that content at least once and just kind of getting to grips with it. You don't need to know it inside out. It's of course a lot of information initially, and a lot of it will be quite new at the professional level stage. So step one is getting your calendar set up. So starting off very generically, just get your weekly planner or get your Excel or however you're going to do it, and just really list out every single day from now until the exam, or from the day you're going to start revising until the exam date. You'll see me just doing an example here, just writing the dates on the weekly planner. And I'll also show you actually an Excel version of that. Then of course, following this, it's really important that you are getting all of your dates in correctly. You're getting your college dates in, you're also getting in the actual exam date, any mock dates. And then besides anything related to the exam, I actually think it's really, really important to put in any other commitments. So I've touched on that in this video, but you can really make time for both working, studying, and also other commitments if you do really plan ahead. If you say did need to take an evening off for a certain social event, or if you had any birthdays or anything kind of important, hopefully you can try and still fit these in. It's also important to factor in any annual leave days that you may have booked, because these days will of course then involve a bit more revision and you can go a bit heavier on how many questions you practice a day and things like that. So definitely worth noting in your annual leave. And then something else that we can think about is just any kind of contingency days, and these are just days where you can catch up, say if you do end up missing things, falling a bit behind, and it just allows you to get back on track and you kind of feel less stressed because you know that you do have those days if worse comes to worse and you have to miss a question on a certain day. Step two then is actually kind of thinking of your strategy and what you're going to do. So I would really recommend watching my videos on how to pass the specific exams. So I've only got it at the moment out on FAR, but I do have blog links in the description below for all of the other professional level exams. And if you do want any advanced, those can also be found on the blog and some on my YouTube channel. But make sure you do subscribe, because I'll definitely be releasing more videos on this. So these blogs and kind of guides will really help you with your strategy. So if you do watch the FAR video, you'll know that my motto is a consolidation a day keeps the resit away. Then for FM, I also try to apply that and do that with a financial risk management question a day. And so this is kind of where you're kind of seeing actually you are going to have to practice certain questions on certain days. Even then, thought in theory in my blog that you could apply this to TC with an inheritance tax question a day. So I didn't actually do that, but in hindsight, I think that would have been quite good. BPT is one that I think will just be more random. And then, like I mentioned, AA and BST, I think those are lighter exams. So I wouldn't recommend this whole question bank approach for them. And you'll find that in the How to Pass blogs as well about them. But I think those do not need as much question practice. So this kind of approach for them probably isn't as suitable. So hopefully as well, as per my best order to sit the exams, hopefully you are sitting FAR and FM separately. So there's not too much pressure to do one question a day for each of those, because then that ends up being, of course, 2 questions a day on just those. EC, I think, is typically sat more with FAR. And I did say maybe 1 IHT question a day, but this can actually, again, then get quite much. So I think as long as you're doing quite a bit of TC practice over time as well, and just really getting to grips with the performers, I think you'll be okay. It doesn't need to be as rigid as I think with a consolidation a day for FAR, keeping the resit away. So third step, once you've got your whole timeline set out and you've got your strategy covered, you can then actually turn to the question bank itself. So like I said, this is a very question bank heavy approach where you do want to aim to get through as much as the question bank as you can. So as I've just mentioned, you may want to do a certain type of question a day. And so what's really useful about the question bank is that it actually does typically have a contents page that splits up the questions into the different sections. So I recently did a tailored study plan for somebody, and that was for FM. And we did go through and you could clearly see which were the financial risk management questions, which were the other sections. And then where it's got the past exams, it's worth going through and checking those, because for the financial risk management questions, for example, those are the 30 markers, so you can easily identify those. However, it's also worth mentioning there's more than just the question bank as well. So ICAEW does have resources on their website, and that's maybe some of the more recent exams that haven't been included in your question bank. And there may be a few other questions that you could potentially practice as well. You may also have progress tests and mocks as well. So it's quite useful to give yourself that time as well to really debrief those and to go through those. So I would literally just start out by writing out every single question bank question. So I'd write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. So for example, for FM until 74 for this year. I would then also write out the most recent exams as well, so make sure that I can go over those too. And like I said, those can be found on the ICAEW website. And what's really important is that you're aware of any of the questions that you're going to go through in college. So for me, I studied at Kaplan, and in advance they would tell us which questions will be gone through in college and which will be set as homework during that exam prep time. So why it's important to recognise this is because you want those questions to be unseen. You don't want it to be questions you've already practiced and then you can kind of remember and you think that you know something, but you might actually not know it as well as you thought. Those ones I would just simply cross out and just make sure not to do those. And if your tuition provider, college provider, if they don't give you this in advance, then it might be worth reaching out and asking for this, because it is important that you are leaving questions unseen. And then, as I've said several times now, so because you'll be practicing one certain type of question a day, it's good to really find out which one those are. So maybe just circle those and find out which ones those actually are, so you are getting the questions right. So you might be thinking, hang on, you're meant to do one a day, but I have more than a month's time here. So I don't have enough questions to do one a day. So that is probably going to happen in most cases if you are really planning ahead, and that's okay. I think the ones that you do earlier on, it is probably okay to repeat those, but like I said, remember to leave some unseen for much closer to the exam. So now the final bit and the best part is just really putting this all together. So you've got your outline, you know your strategy, you know which kind of questions you need to do pretty much every day. BPT, I think I did it pretty much more randomly, but you might want to plan that a bit better as well and have some similar questions with the same sort of content areas kind of close to each other in days, so you can start to really build that skill and recognize where these are coming up in questions and how they're kind of written. But yeah, literally just start plugging it in. So remember your commitments, because there might be some days where you can't really study. So really don't give yourself any questions on that day, because then you just won't be doing it and you'll be setting yourself up to fail. So just start plugging the questions in, really work it around your schedule, but get those one in a day at first. And then once you've got those, realistically for which ones you can do on a day. And I think just miss out anything for during your college exam preparation time, because you'll already be given so many questions during the day at college, and then they do factor in homework as well. So that'll probably be your evenings there or taken up anyway. But all of the other times, do just kind of give yourself that one a day where you can. Then the remaining questions for the remaining topics, is up to you how you kind of designate it and split it out. But like I said, don't forget the other kind of resources that are available. So there's extra bit of questions, and also any progress tests or mocks that you need to spend time to debrief and understand as well. So try and make this schedule as realistic as possible. Then like I said, have some catch-up days. And I think closer to the exam, especially maybe the weekend before, it's probably good to have a recap weekend. This way you can go through any questions you've already done. And hopefully you're really just, whenever you need to, go back to the content and just fill in the gaps. Hopefully then by this recap weekend, things really do start to fall into place and click a bit more. And hopefully as well, if you are sitting more than one exam at once, and like I said, it is pretty intense, but if you are doing that, then hopefully you do have some annual leave. And so if you've got that in your schedule, then I've probably already said, but do just make sure that those are the days that are maybe a bit more heavy with the question practice than other ones that aren't. I think as well, when I've had annual leave, what works for me is kind of studying the same topic each day. Some FAR one day, AA another, perhaps DC on the other. I didn't really like to miss and match, except for where I've said a consolidation a day, and I would have made sure to do that on each of those. And that's just really to make sure that it is really sticking and being drilled in. But otherwise, I think on the whole, it's probably a nicer approach to kind of have the same module per day. So the final bit that I actually want to touch on is the fact that you will pretty much be throwing yourself into question bank practice with this approach. And this is what I did, and I think it does work well, because it means that you do get enough question bank practice before the real exam. So hopefully, like I said, you've at least gone through the content once, and that's maybe with your tuition provider or through some notes that you've already got. But again, the study manual is just a lot of information. So what this means is you just definitely will not be perfect at all by any means at question practice straight away. It's really hard going from the content in professional level straight to question bank practice, and to be honest, it's quite a shock. I think depending on how much time you have, maybe a month or 6 weeks before the exam, I think initially in that first week, or maybe the first 2 weeks then, again depending on timing, you should probably just expect not to be too good at the questions. So most of your time, I think, will be more so spent debriefing the answers and really understanding. But I think when you're attempting the questions, it's probably okay if you maybe referred to your notes or done a plan and kind of thought it through. You'll probably need your notes, or if you're just doing it quickly and leaving it blank, a lot of it blank, as I sometimes would, I think I really just spent the time debriefing. So I think realistically, a question a day will probably take you between 1.5 to 2 hours. So it seems like a lot of time, so you do really need to factor that in and make sure you're not saying to do maybe 4 questions on a day that you're working as well, because that is going to be tough. So yeah, the first week or so, just go through with your notes, really take it easy. I would not recommend going through the questions to time, because I think you'll have a lot of time spare because you won't know how to answer a lot of it to begin with. Then I think slowly just build your confidence as you get closer to the exam. So I think it might be okay to just maybe refer to your notes a bit, but a bit less. Of course, BPT is the exception because that one is an open book and you're allowed that in your exam. But the others, I think, try not to too much, but a little bit, maybe a few 3 weeks out from your exam is probably okay. Then I think closer to that exam prep time and a couple weeks out, I think that's when it's important to really just start to get your timing kind of a lot better, and a lot more of it needs to be coming from you. But really always just make sure you're debriefing your answers. I think debriefing is absolutely where you learn the most. Then hopefully the week before your exam, you are pretty much doing things at a time and you are getting the majority now. So before, a lot of my answers started off with barely any black writing from myself. Most of it was in red corrections. Hopefully now it flips the other way around. So hopefully this helps you kind of understand how it's best to kind of make a tailored study plan to yourself. If you do want time with me, like I said, I do offer that. So check out the link in my description below. If you do have exams coming up soon, then good luck for those. And thank you so much for watching. If you did find it helpful, then do give me a like. Any questions, drop them in the box below. I'd be happy to answer those. And as always, I'll be back with videos every single week, so make sure you do subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you again soon. Thanks.